Women, what is something creepy that guys do without noticing? Staring. I get it. Guys are going to check women out. All people are checking each other out. But I've noticed that some guys have a habit of turning checking out into staring for just a bit too long. The whole telling a woman to smile thing. You may think it's cheeky and charming, but it's not. It's rage-inducingly cringe-worthy and irrational and rude. You have no idea how my day life is going. I do not owe anyone a facial expression. And if I sat on the train walked around with a massive grin on my face, I'd look like a psycho. Stop. I have complained and they tell me to not be so sensitive. He's not creepy, he's old. Tell a stranger they don't know to smile. I don't just walk around with a big dumb smile on my face all day. That's weird. Demand a hug after the first meeting. We may have only said 3 words to each other, but they always want a hug. Get way too close in my personal space to the point where they're almost touching me when I don't even know them. Don't make prolonged eye contact in the mirror at the gym with strange women. It can get weird pretty fast. I look constipated half the time when I'll lift weights, not really looking to bat my eyelashes in return. When they have a very specific compliment about a very specific part of your body, it's like, you could just say I look nice. You don't have to tell me how slender my neck is, or something to that effect. Coming into your workplace when you work in the service industry and act like they are the only customer that exists and they just keep talking. Intense staring while talking about something casual. I wonder if dudes realize how scary it is when they raise their volume in conversation. Buying me stuff and then refusing to stop when I ask them to. Nothing ever comes for free. And when they inevitably try to make a move, somehow I'm the rude heartless itch that was taking advantage of them and leading them on. I explicitly asked them to stop buying me stuff, then had to move to actually throwing it away in front of them. They never got the hint and turned this into my fault for sending mixed signals. Duck off with this. Call me a pet name like sweetheart, honey, etc. when we're just acquaintances or strangers. I understand that some girls may not mind it. And I know this is carried over from a generation when times were different. But it just makes me feel like I'm just a pair of tits to you and not the intelligent human being that I am. I'm a dude, but I laugh so hard when I see guys act thirsty as hell on social media. You know, the guy who comments heart eye emojis, says damn, or tries to start a conversation on photos. Referring to women almost exclusively as females. Super alienating, debasing, creepy. Do not call a woman a yummy mommy, MILF, naughty mommy, or any other term that sexualizes the fact I have children. It's creepy. When you tell them you don't want to do something and they try to convince you to do it and sometimes pressure you. For example, he will ask you, do you want to grab something to eat? You say, no, you're good. Then he will be like, oh come on, I'm sure you're hungry. It's just food. You will say again that you are fine and not hungry. He will say, are you sure? Rinse and repeat. Or, I understand wanting to get clarification, but my final answer is final. I don't want to be convinced. It's not cute to be annoyingly persistent to convince me to eat, go to the movies, or find unicorns. Touching D while hands in pocket. I don't know if this makes sense, but some guys have a really creepy face when they're turned on. Not publicly, but when they're hooking up. And I know it's not their fault, but it kind of freaks me out. Stare at my boobs. I don't mind a look. Even a lingering one. They are good. But don't burn holes into them with your stare. When you've made every non-verbal signal that you aren't interested and they approach you anyway, or just linger around staring. If I am avoiding eye contact, cross my arms, frown. Or if I see you approaching and move or change my direction, I'm not interested. This happens especially with guys in their 50s 70s at my gym. I make it very obvious I'm not interested, and then try to shut down the conversation that happens inevitably anyway, but they just keep talking, and then trail you, still talking, if you're trying to physically remove yourself from their presence. When they try to seduce you by saying I have this, I have that, I am rich, I can provide for you and you can have anything you want. I'm just like GTFO, I provide for myself and have a better paid job than you. I've only experienced this with Eastern European men though. I suppose they are trying to be macho or something, but it just comes off as sleazy and cheap. Men and girls, men and females, guys and females, dudes and dudette, rather than just dude, young man and girl, teenager and girl, job title, and female, job title, Mr. and or Miss or Mrs., rather than just Ms. Eavesdropping on conversations just to get in and to start talking. This weekend my friends and I went to a bar and were waiting in line to order our drinks. One of our friends had gone to the bathroom and was going to meet us in line. The friend I was standing with and talking to said something to the effect of, "I wonder what Lauren wants me to order her?" During our conversation, when Lauren approaches, the guy that was standing behind us says, "Oh, you must be Lauren," even though we haven't talked to him at all. He then starts asking us all where we're from and trying to small talk. This doesn't make you seem attentive. It makes you seem creepy and desperate. How do I know if I'm creepy? I'm awkward, so I worry I'm accidentally creepy. Pretty often. How do I avoid making people afraid? I'm big but I'm harmless unless I'm protecting something. Guy here. Find it really creepy when 40-50 something dudes stare at college girls. Come on, you're old enough to be her father. WTF is wrong with you? Telling me that I would make a good housewife and that he would like to take me home when I'm just doing normal cleaning whilst at work. Don't people get how they're coming across? Don't touch, get too close, or casually find reasons to brush your arm seductively across ours if we've literally just met a few hours ago. We know what you're doing. It's mostly awkward, always creepy, understand personal space. Get defensive to the point of anger when we point out ways in which they're making us uncomfortable. Really not helping your case, my dudes. Man, here, but I have to add, talking about the sexy stuff you've been doing to your wife, girlfriend, strangers. No one cares what you're into. Creepy coworker. No one is impressed by this. You're just being creepy. Make a sexual jokes, remarks, comments within a couple minutes of meeting. Staring at someone during class then turning back to the front as soon as the lady notices. Gym coaching. I'm a guy and I go to the gym regularly. I've seen a few men working out with women partners where they are obviously coaching them by keeping their hands on the woman's waist or somewhere else on her body while she goes through the motion of her exercise. Like, I really don't think she needs you to have your hands on her waist while she performs weight assisted pull-ups, and you don't need to stand behind her and hold her while she does squats. As a woman living in a city, when I'm walking on the street I am constantly keeping track of who is near me. Sometimes guys will unthinkingly get extremely close and freak me out. It can be hard to tell if someone is just in a hurry, pushy, or a potential threat. Just give women some space. Dudes, edit. I'm having to turn off my replies. Thanks to those who responded with empathy. Standing too close and touching my hair without consent. I work retail and these are the two things guaranteed to piss me off and make me feel uncomfortable. I constantly have guy customers standing too close while asking me questions. If I can't fully extend my arm without touching you, you're too close. And I understand not everyone has as big of a personal bubble as I do, so I'm not immediately angry if you're just standing too close. But when I take a half step back to give myself some breathing room and they take a full step forward and end up closer than before, I get really creeped out, especially when they start to lean in. Like, I'm not quiet. My co-worker can hear me 3 aisles away trying to tell you where the freaking taco seasoning is kept. Stop leaning in. And the touching my hair thing. Don't do it. Whenever I change my haircut, color or style I invariably have men touching it. Girls squeal and tell me it's pretty, then ask to touch it and don't push it if I say no. Guys, customers or co-workers, just reach out and touch it. I appreciate compliments. I really do. But why do you have to be touching my hair to tell me how nice it looks? Telling me how my hair should be longer. Don't cut it any shorter. Honey, they say with a smile. This is not isolated. This happens all the time. And every time it happens, I make an appointment for the hairdresser and cut it even shorter. Maybe eventually I'll just shave it off and blame it on strange men telling me how to style my hair. Thinking it's okay to approach me even when I've displayed all signs of not wanting to be spoken to. I don't owe you anything. Not my smile. Conversation. Not even the time of the day. Offering to help when it's not necessary. I get this a lot at the grocery store when I'm standing in line with a basket. I've had guys offer to hold my basket for me. Thankfully they clue on a bit when I say no thanks. I'm capable of holding my own basket. I was coming down the stairs outside my apartment in a cute sundress that showed a little cleavage, and a guy walking from my right to left stared at me the entire time, even turning his head to very obviously stare at me. And people always ask why I usually wear baggy t-shirts and jeans. Insult you, threaten you after being romantically rejected. Like, bro, I was a cutie 3 texts ago and now I'm an ugly evil witch BC I don't wanna smash. I used to have an older male co-worker who would give me a creepy shoulder rub when he walked by my desk. Both hands. I don't think they mean to, but some guys are a bit too much in your personal space, touchy-feely, which can make women a bit uncomfortable. A guy I work with sits on my desk when he asks me a question, so he's like inches away from me. And sometimes if he's talking to me he'll put his hand on my shoulder. It's just him being friendly, but it makes me feel a bit squirmy. But I don't feel it's also big enough to bring up. Also, once at a party, a guy I was talking to casually, not flirty or anything, just where do you work, as where are you from etc, put his hand on my thigh. It was very Ossethad scene in The Office when Toby puts his hand on Pam's leg. I know it depends on the individual, but I think even non-sexual touching can be intimate. And maybe being self-aware about what that women might feel about it, even if it's completely friendly and innocent, is important. Telling me you're going to take me home whether I like it or not is crossing a line. Walking you home after a date without asking shall I walk you home, like just not leaving. It's often well intentioned, but it's worth asking. By telling me how pretty I am by insulting my friend. You're way prettier than Becky. Thanks. D. Or when they tell me my breasts are lovely or ask if they are real. WTF. Go duck yourself. Guys who won't take no for an answer. I don't go out very often, but when I do go out dancing with friends, there's almost always a scenario where a guy hits on me and I end up saying, me, sorry, that's sweet but I'm not interested. Him, why not? Me, well, I'm a lesbian and I'm married. This is my wife. Him, no you aren't. Me, yes, I am. Him, you don't look like lesbians. And then it goes on and on until I either walk away or he gets tired of arguing with me about my own sexuality. When a guy I'm making out with says you're too sexy, I'm not going to be able to control myself after I've mentioned I don't want to have a sex. I realize most guys mean it as a compliment, but find a different way to flirt that doesn't slightly hint you're going to assault me. Even as a joke compliment, it's not hot. Disclaimer, I'm a gay dude, not a woman. Was talking to my girlfriend last weekend about how creepy it is for dudes to get a girl's number and then immediately call them without letting them leave. It's just such a bizarre thing. If they don't want to give out the number and give you a false number, well, that's your sign. D pics. Because apparently nowadays men just assume that I want a random pic of their D and they don't notice that it is creepy AF. Not a woman, but I guess hover guys. Like she is in a bar and there is one guy watching her from the distance. Feeling his stare, she moves to another place in the establishment. Guess who will be close by to her new location? Yes, that guy. To be fair, that guy is probably not trying to be a creep. He likely is just very shy and struggling to make a move. He always finds excuses like, oh, she is talking to friends right now. Better not interrupt. His indecisiveness and shyness keeps him in a state between approaching and not approaching, which makes him appear creepy. Definitely telling strangers to smile. I got this one once leaving my doctor's office. After being treated for precancerous cells, I wanted to smack him. Usually older men who wink at me as a greeting. Pull me nah. I live in a Hispanic heavy area, when trying to ask me for help finding something. And I once even got tips like he was calling a dog. This is a pet store, so that last one was double weird. My sister who passed away has one that'll tell for her since she is no longer able to tell the story. My sister was a worker at Waffle House. She has pretty big boobs. She told me one day that as she was leaving her work, wearing her normal clothes, a guy was walking up, a rather short and very fat old man. My sister was only 5'4" and this guy must have been 5'2". She holds the door open as she exits. He stops, looks directly at her face, then instantly his face is inches from her chest and he says thank you to her boobs. She, being polite, says you're welcome. Then he looks up at her face, then back down at her chest that he is uncomfortably close to, and says oh dear god, lem take you into my truck. She declines his offer. He looks up again at her face and then back down at her chest and repeats oh dear god. She walked away, letting the door hit the guy. Guys in cars that stare. I call it the I would keep you in my basements for years stare. Whether I'm running, walking or even driving in my car. It's that deadpan and blinking stare, and they move their head to follow you until they are out of sight. It's just so damn creepy. Sit on the corner of my desk while explaining a project. This positions me lower than them and have to look up at them, and they can see down my shirt. And I've become eye level with their D's. It's super creepy the way a lot of guys feel obligated to touch and stare at you. I'm in high school and already I faced a lot of this. In middle school, there used to be a guy who constantly stared at my boobs and my ass. If he wasn't doing anything else, that's what he was doing. It was very demeaning. This other time, I was standing with one hand at my hip talking to my friend when he suddenly looped his arm around mine and twirled me, completely scared it out of me. I asked him about what the duck he was doing and he actually said oh sorry, I didn't realize I just did that. What, did a ghost possess you all of a sudden and force you to do that? Don't give me your bullet. Got. As I'm typing I'm remembering more things about him. He had a nickname for me that I absolutely hated. But that's what he would call me. I'm getting mad just thinking about it. The fact that there are a lot more instances like this with different people of different ages starting from elementary school is just sad. Interpret any sign of friendly behavior as flirting or being interested. I once had a man accuse me of flirting back because he noticed while hugging me by that my bra was loose. Spaghetti strap shirt. Bra strap fell down, and he pulled it back on my shoulder and mentioned it was loose. I replied with something like yeah probably, but because I didn't scream at him for touching my bra it meant I was flirting back. I work at a hotel and twice I've been told good girl. WTF. I'm not a dog, you duck. Not okay. I'm 36. But I don't think it's okay to say that to any human above 10 years of age. Where's my hug? If I wanted to give you one, I would. This is awful because you only have two equally uncomfortable options. 1. Hug him, even though you don't feel comfortable doing so. 2. Reject the hug and look mean because it's just a hug. Touching women excessively, even if it's not supposed to come off as creepy, it usually does. One of my dad's friends is always playfully hitting my arm and grabbing my ear and giving me hugs and stuff like that, and it is just plain creepy, especially considering that he's probably 60 and I'm 21. Also, older men making inappropriate jokes to young women just because the young women are technically adults. Like I'm still young enough to be your daughter and I'm a woman, and what makes you think that I would be okay with hearing this sexist joke or this derogatory statement about women? I'm a guy, a gay one at that, but I always see these douchy straight dudes ushering women places. It's often on the small of the back and sort of dart pushing them place to place. It's one thing if it's your spouse partner. It's another thing for friends and strangers. This entire thread gives me retrospective anxiety. Finish a work project and girl gives full boob chin over shoulder hug to say goodbye. Reciprocate or stand there like a post? If I reciprocate I worry about being judged for enjoying two large ones being pressed into me. If I stand there I worry about being cold and ending project on an awkward note. I understand I'm in the south, but can't we just shake hands? Meet cool gal and talk about shopping as my wife hates getting her own bras. Clearly I'm married. I lament how it seems like Versus has had such a big downturn in quality in recent years, but their coupons help. She tells me her exact breast size and about how they pop out of most swimsuit tops. How did I get here? What color is my face? Did she notice my eyes nearly popped out of my head? Can't we just go back to talking about phones and computers? Swapping recipes and share food with a coworker. I make an extra batch of food to share with her team on several occasions and she brings me plates of food from her team potlucks. Bring over a dessert my wife made to share and none of the gals there will speak with me. What did I do? Was I being too nice? Am I being creepy? She's hot but I deliberately bounce my eyes around places on her face to not be rude. Scans memory of anything I could have done wrong if I pressed to ask. I'll be a creep. If I did something I'd like to know and apologize. I guess I'll just stay ghosted and always wonder. Assume that every woman wants to be flirted with or be told she is beautiful. No, we sure as hell don't. I once had a dude listening when I was making a call to set up a doctor's appointment. I verified my phone number to the receptionist on the other end of the line. He heard it, wrote it down, then later texted me. I had no idea who he was. Your sneaky tactics supposed to impress me, dude, because they didn't. A woman's info isn't a goddamn free for all for you to use. Don't ever do this. Ducking creepy. Never thought I'd be in this position, but here I am. Not a woman, but don't try to get buddy with her friends just to try to get to her. I was with some of my friends. One of them is a woman that some would call attractive. Hanging out after church. All of a sudden this stranger walked up to one of us and started saying things like, "Hey Jake, how have you been?" and stuff like that. Jake said he didn't have a clue who this guy was. So he spent the next 5 minutes saying they met in the high school ministry, which Jake vaguely remembered, but not to any extent of being friends with the guy. After a while, the conversation went to where we were going out to eat, to which the guy said, "Yeah, where are we going to eat? I'm starving." Keep in mind we still don't know who this guy is and we're all discomforted by how friendly he's acting. When we picked a place out without him, we managed to convince him we weren't going out after 5 minutes of debating. Our friend said the whole time us guys were talking amongst ourselves, the stranger would turn to her and whisper about marriage and what their celebrity couple name would be. Guys, don't do this. Ever.